In the first segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
That woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and so
migrate.
why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate.
At all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous. Don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay? That was a joke. But,
Too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, you know, if I had any doubt that I was right.
The term woke, when you look it up in Webster's dictionary, which it really is there, is about being aware of social inequity, social injustices, and fighting those. And that is a good thing. The term has been co-opted by the right. The term has been co-opted by the far right, by the alt-right, and the term has even been co-opted by Bill Maher himself. He is comparing woke with identity politics. He thinks woke means a diversity of opinion. That is not what woke meant in the mid-1900s. It's not what woke meant during the Civil Rights Movement. It's not what woke meant during BLM. It's not what woke means now.
Bill Maher just walked onto The View and did something no one saw coming. He tore into the woke agenda right in front of them. And let me tell you, the reaction was priceless. Sunny Hostin thought she had him cornered with a classic gotcha moment. She tried to call him out for using the word woke, acting like she was about to educate him on what it really means. But Maher, he wasn't having it. Instead of backing down, he flipped the whole conversation on its head, leaving Hostin scrambling to keep up. And just when you thought it couldn't get any better, he took it there. He called out the left's double standards, exposed the hypocrisy, and by the end of it, the room was dead silent. So what did he say that had everyone talking, and why did it leave even the most diehard liberals questioning their own side? Let's get into it. So here's the deal. Bill Maher wasn't even there to stir the pot. He showed up on The View to promote his new book, probably expecting the usual back and forth. But of course, that didn't last long. Sunny Hostin saw an opening and jumped on it. She brought up Maher's use of the word woke, acting like she was about to school him on why it was problematic.
That I was right about the change that's happened in the left. Watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty.
It up in Webster's dictionary, which it really is there, is about being aware of social inequity, social injustices, and fighting those. And that is a good thing. The term has been co-opted by the right. The term has been co-opted by the far right, by the alt-right, and the term has even been co-opted by Bill Maher himself. He is comparing woke with identity politics. He thinks woke means a diversity of opinion. That is not what woke meant in the mid-1900s. It's not what woke meant during the Civil Rights Movement. It's not what woke meant during BLM.
You could practically see the setup from a mile away. She tried to frame it as, I was surprised to hear you use that term because historically it comes from the black community to talk about social justice. Now, on the surface, it seemed like a fair point. But the way she said it, she wasn't just asking a question. She was trying to trap him, like, oh, so you're one of those guys now? And Maher? He saw it coming before she even finished her sentence. Instead of getting defensive, he did what he does best. He turned the whole thing around on her, and that's when the conversation went off the rails. Maher didn't flinch, didn't stutter, didn't backpedal. Instead, he hit Hostin with a response so smooth it left her scrambling. He basically said, yeah, woke used to mean something good, but words change, and now it's being used to describe something completely different. And you could see the panic in Hostin's eyes. She wasn't expecting that.
In the first segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
She thought Maher would either apologize or try to explain himself. Instead, he just shrugged and said, "I'll use whatever word you want, but let's not pretend the left hasn't changed." Boom, and that's when the real tension kicked in. Because the second Maher said that, he wasn't just talking about the word woke anymore. He was talking about the entire shift in liberal politics, the way things have gone from standing up for real issues to obsessing over purity tests and shutting down anyone who doesn't toe the party line. At this point, Hostin was scrambling for a comeback, but Maher wasn't done. Not even close. And what he said next? It had the entire room shifting in their seats. And then Maher dropped the bomb. He turned to Hostin and basically said, "Don't tell me the left hasn't changed." And you knew he was about to go all in. He pointed out something that had everyone uncomfortable, how some people on the left went from fighting for human rights to defending groups that literally oppose them. He didn't hold back. He straight up called out the folks protesting for Hamas, as if that made any sense at all. And that's when the real awkwardness set in, because let's be honest, nobody on The View was ready to argue with him on that. So instead, Hostin tried to change the subject. She started talking about how the right has co-opted the term woke and turned it into an insult. Classic distraction move.
That I was right about the change that's happened in the left. Watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up
And
pretty.
then Maher went there. He looked Hostin dead in the eye and said something that had everyone either nodding in agreement or absolutely fuming. He called out the double standards that the woke crowd loves to ignore, and he did it in a way that made it impossible to argue back. He pointed out how people are out here defending extremist groups, while at the same time preaching about equality and human rights. And then, with the kind of brutal honesty that only Maher can get away with, he hit them with this: "If you're really about social justice, why are you defending people who would strip away your rights the second they got the chance?" And boom, silence. You could see it on Hostin's face. She was stuck. She tried to come up with something, anything to counter that, but there was nothing she could say without proving his point. But Maher wasn't about to let her off that easy. He leaned in and shut it down with one simple point. Call it whatever you want, but the fact is, things that used to be considered common sense are now controversial, and that's a problem. And at that moment, you could feel the energy in the room shift. The audience didn't know whether to clap or sit in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Hostin was not happy, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get more tense, Maher threw out one final line that made everyone's jaw drop.
Woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and so
migrate.
why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate.
At all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse for her, Maher kept going. He called out the absolute irony of so-called progressives backing regimes that would never, in a million years, support their values. He straight up asked, "Do you think the women on this panel would rather live in Israel or under Hamas?" And let me tell you, the room went dead. Nobody wanted to answer because they knew the answer, and saying it out loud would completely destroy their argument. At this point, even the audience didn't know what to do. Some people clapped. Others just sat there staring, like they had just witnessed the moment that would go viral. But Maher wasn't done. Nope. He had one more point to make. And this one, it left Hostin with no way out. At this point, Hostin was desperate to regain control. She tried to pivot, started talking about innocent civilians, and throwing in buzzwords to make it seem like Maher was just being insensitive. But Maher, he saw it coming from a mile away. Instead of taking the bait, he went straight for the media's role in pushing these narratives. He flat out said, "It's not about truth anymore. It's about whatever fits the story they want to tell." And you could feel the tension spike. Because here's the thing, everyone knows he's right. Whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, you know the media cherry picks what they want people to believe. Maher even admitted that he doesn't trust any side at face value anymore. Whenever I hear a story, I assume I'm only getting half the truth, and I won't believe a word of it until I hear the other half. And that was the final straw. Hostin had nothing. She tried to push back, but her argument was already in shambles. The more she talked, the worse it got. And Maher? He just sat back, watching it all unfold.
Right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty. Astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your value.